So we are going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Aloni. I'm with Schneps Media. Schneps Media is the largest local media metro area. We publish over 80 newspapers, magazines, websites, webinars, podcasts, and events throughout Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, the Bronx, Long Island, Philadelphia, even Florida. Forgive me if I left anywhere out, but we are just growing leaps and bounds, and we are thrilled to be here with you today and bring you some great information on New York sports betting. As many of you know, legal online and mobile sports betting launched in New York on January 6th, and this is the first football season for legal sports betting. So we're really excited. We're going to demystify New York sports betting and walk you through the process and how to get started. What's incredible is that New Yorkers have wagered more than $10 million since the launch, making mobile New York sports betting the biggest market in the U.S. Ahead of the first full NFL season with online sports books live in the Empire State, we're going to take a look at the best New York sports betting and so much more information for you today. So thrilled to welcome our panelists. First, let me welcome Mr. Ed Abrams. Ed is the publisher of sports betting at Schneps Media and amnyMetro. Before joining Schneps Media in 2020, Ed served as the CEO of Metro US for 16 years. He's also held positions in sponsorship sales at Madison Square Garden and Fox Sports New York. Ed graduated from Rutgers University and holds a master's degree in sports marketing and University. Welcome, Ed.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Great to be here. Look forward to the webinar today.
Absolutely. Now, next, please welcome Joe Peterno. Joe has served as the sports editor of AM New York for the last 2 years after coming home to New York. He covers all 12 major sports teams in the New York City area, most notably the Mets and Islanders. He made his way to newspapers from Bleacher Report, where he worked as a breaking news writer for 2 years. Welcome, Joe.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much. Yeah, let's get to it. We're excited for some football season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And finally, last but certainly not least, we're going to welcome Eric Samulski. Eric is the deputy editor for AM New York Sports. He's also won 2 Fantasy Sports Writers Association. We heard on SiriusXM Radio as a regular contributor on Rotoballer Radio. Eric played baseball at Trinity University in Texas and played internationally in Australia after graduation. He joined AM New York Sports in March after a decade as I'm going to grab him from my son. So welcome.
Thanks. Happy to be here. I too am ready for football season. So excited to get started with all this.
Fantastic. So let's get started. Ed, if you'd share your great presentation, that'd be wonderful.
All right, here we go. All right, everyone. So let's send it over to, again, we're very excited to be here. We have a lot of great information that we'd like to share. And let's get started, Pantorno, to talk all about ranking the best New York sports betting apps that are available to everyone in New York.
And I do want to just say AM New York did this. They ranked them all. So Joe's going to walk us through and talk about the factors and how they came up with the ratings.
Yeah, so it's obviously a lot to go through because there's so many different betting apps now that are on the scene here in New York now that it's legal, and there's so many different sports to bet on and so much information being thrown at you. So we tried to kind of do our best to make this as help you find out some of the best deals and the best apps for you to go and really kind of lay the foundation for your sports betting journey, if we want to call it. So there were a few factors that we went into, and there are currently 9 apps in total that are on in the presentation. We'll kind of look at the top 5, but really what we looked at was the mobile app user experience and the mobile app interface. And this all really kind of comes down to how easy is it for you to use the interface. Can you navigate it easily? That we've also really kind of taken a look at is the diversity of sports. I mean, we know New York is the most diverse place on the planet, really, and there's so many sports that everybody's into. So we kind of want to make sure that if you want to bet on football one day, that's great. If you want to do basketball, awesome. And even on a midday, a midweek day like this, and we have the Champions League starting and the Europa League starting. If you want to get on soccer as well, that's something that we also take into consideration. So not only looking for, variety, but also the best bang for your buck. Who offers the best deals, where you can make a little bit of money basically immediately just for signing up. And here we rank the top 9 for. Really, we're going to be looking at the top 5, and we kind of call them the big 5 of DraftKings, Caesars, Fanduel, BetMGM, and PointsBet. And this is kind of what we came up with. So we'll kind of turn it over to the rest of the panel here, and they'll take you through all the fun.
Will you walk us through, let's focus on those top 5. Would you walk us through those top 5 and what offers they have available?
Definitely. All right. So as Joe mentioned, there are 9 different sports betting apps that are live currently in New York. And here are the 9, and focus on the top 5. We think the top 5 stand out and are superior to the rest. So here we go. The top 5 sports betting apps. And again, it's also important, as Joe mentioned, the ones that have the best sign-up offers. So DraftKings, Caesars, Fanduel, BetMGM, and PointsBet. That's our top 5 sports betting apps in New York. And here we go. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of the apps and then also go over the current. So the first one is DraftKings. And as you see, DraftKings has a bet 5 to get 200 in free bets offer. Again, you make your first initial deposit. You bet 5 on any NFL, college football, UFC 279, and you get $200 in free bets instantly. Great offer from DraftKings. The next offer that we want to talk about in sports betting operator is Caesars. All over television with JB Smooth and the Mannings. They have a great offer right now. They have up to $1,250 risk-free as a free bet. If you lose your initial bet, in reward credits that can be used at Caesars hotels and resorts. Again, great offer, up to $1,250 risk-free as a free bet if you lose that first bet. Next one, FanDuel, another great offer. Bet 5, get $150 in free bets, guaranteed, and again, instantly. Bet 5, get $150. And you've probably seen Kevin Hart all over television with this new offer. Again, bet $150 in free bets, guaranteed. The next offer, BetMGM, our 4th-ranked app in New York. They have a risk-free first bet up to $1,000 of tremendous offer from BetMGM. And last but not least, PointsBet. PointsBet is an Australian-based sports betting company, and they have unique, amazing offers for this upcoming football season. Times 200 in risk-free first bets for new users. So again, if these bets lose, the money is refunded. Again, 4-time $200 in risk-free first bet. Wow. Just amazing sign-up offer. So again, a lot of people talk about, all right, so what are the different apps? And we've gone through the top 5. How do we do this, right? How do we register for New York sports betting and through the easy steps and how to sign up? And again, the sign up process typically takes no more than about 10 minutes. Elizabeth is also going to be sharing links. We have exclusive sign up one of these top 5 sports betting operators that will be shared.
They're already there, Ed. They're already
all right, they're already there. I love it. So again,
already.
if you use these links, you will get all of our exclusive offers from. So again, you select register, sign me up, or bet now. You complete the registration process. Typically means you need to create a username, a password, provide an email address. They typically ask for a home address, all 4 of your social security number. Sometimes there'll be additional verification steps needed, such as uploading a picture of your driver's license to prove identity and age, or even a utility bill. But again, these are all fair and common across all the sports betting apps. And again, it's a pretty simple registration process. After you register, You then have the ability to securely deposit funds. That can be from online banking, credit, Play Plus, etc. And then once you're all ready to go, you're ready to place a bet. And again, take advantage of all these unbelievable new user sign-up offers. And again, there are amazing offers out there. Again, as I mentioned, Elizabeth shared this. We have an exclusive sign-up link for Caesars. We have an exclusive tremendous sign-up link available for DraftKings, also for Fanduel, for BetMGM Sports, and also, and important to use our link. Click on the link, use that link, and it will take you to the sign-up page, and you will get these exclusive offers that we've just reviewed with each of you.
Fantastic. But you're going to walk us through it.
We're gonna walk you through the registration process. And again, I promise we'll take this and keep this to a quick process. So what we've done is we've included some screenshots from Caesars, and we're going to registration process. Again, what information is needed to sign up and register? You need your account information, your name, your first name, your last name, your email, your date of birth, and your cell phone number. Then it's gonna ask you to send a word, also some security questions just for verification, and in case you would forget your email address or your password, your last four of your social security number, your home address, and obviously your city, state. Then it's gonna take you to the account registration page. The promo code will already be filled in, and you'll see a promo code verified. That promo code, when you click that link, that promo code gives you all of the offers. You agree to the terms and conditions, you hit submit, and then the account is created. And that's how easy it is. You've successfully created a Caesars Sportsbook New York account. Then it takes you to the deposit. And on Caesars, there are a number of different ways that you can deposit. You can deposit via online banking. That is the recommended and easiest way to deposit funds into your sports betting accounts is your online. Again, the key here, it is safe and secure. These companies have invested significant dollars in safety and your security, and all of your information remains. It remains, your identity is secure, and all of these payment methods are secure and again have top-notch security. So, online banking, debit card, deposit method, ACH, e-check transfer is another great way to deposit into your account. PayPal, a lot of the sportsbook operators are now allowing PayPal, which is very simple. There's also where you can go into certain retail locations like 7-Eleven and deposit funds directly at these different Pay Near Me locations. And then you also have a Play Plus prepaid account that you can sign up and register. So again, the deposit is they've made it a much simpler process than it was at launch, and the deposit method and the security is top notch. I have an example here of just PayPal, how simple it is. You sign in, how much you'd like to deposit, hit submit, and you're ready to go. What we've done here is I've just summarized again. Multiple people, including myself, have a sportsbook that I use to place wagers. So again, what we've highlighted here is if you sign up for all five, again, you can sign up for one account, 2 account, 3 account, 4 account, or even all 5. If you do happen to sign up for all 5 accounts, you'll have over $3,000 in free bets for the NFL season. These are significant. These are the best sign-up offers you're going to see at the start of the season. The DraftKings, Caesars, Fanduel, BetMGM, and PointsBet offers are top of the line, and these are just great offers, and that's why it's so important to sign up now, sign up today. And a little bit later on, we have a concierge, William Levy. who will also guide each and any one of you along the way to help you through the registration process. It's a free service that we provide. We'll introduce William a little in the webinar, but again, if you have any issues or problems in the sign-up registration process, we're here to help and we'll walk you through that process.
Fantastic. Now we're going to get some predictions. Obviously, we have here some experts about sports, as you heard as I read their bios, but Eric and Joe are going to give us some inside scoop. Take it away, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. We actually just dropped into NFL preview where we sort of go in depth and try to help you guys, or at least point you in the right direction of where we think the season might play out. So we dropped our predictions today, and Eric and I are pretty much, but because Eric has the distinction of being our Buffalo Bills beat writer, he'll actually be shuttling up there back and forth throughout the season to cover the team. I'll let him sort of take it away and kind of give you some insight on what to this season.
Sure. Thanks, Joe. So, what we'll see in a couple slides later is the different types of bets that you can actually make. So in addition to betting on things in a given week, just, game spreads and who's going to win, you can always whether a team's going to make the playoffs or who's going to win a division or who's going to win a Super Bowl. And so things like this are covered in our staff picks that we have up here. You can see Joe and I both think the Bills will win the Super Bowl. Two of our other sports writers, Christian and Nick, both think the Bucs will win. You can see things like, NFL MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. And these are all things that you can bet on. They're referred to as futures, right? Because they're futures. And so those are different types of bets that you can make. Just, when we walk through this, there's a difference with keep in mind a pick like this doesn't always make something a good bet because we don't know the odds yet, right? You think, the Bills might win the AFC East doesn't necessarily mean that betting on them to win the AFC East is a good bet because it'll depend on the odds you get, which we can see in the next few slides. We'll go over that.
Eric, where can people go to amnyyork.com?
Yeah, so actually, first, you can find it in the actual papers, the print edition, and there will be a digital PDF, and so that will go out this morning in our newsletter, and you can sign up for that newsletter just by going to amnyyork.com/sports, and you'll get prompted to see if you want to sign up for the newsletter, and then you can get the access to the of this. And Joe, I don't know if we might embed a link to it somewhere on the site as well in the future, perhaps in an article, but you can speak to that if you need.
Yes, certainly sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already so that you can get this great.
All right. So once you've signed up, you can start to bet. So we'll talk through some of the types of bets you can make, but also the interface that you'll see with the different apps. So the first thing, right, three main things when you're betting on football, and I know that you might be interested in betting on other sports as well, but since it is football season, we'll talk about that. So the three are the spread, the money line, and total points. So spread is the thing that most people know, right? It's how much will the game be won by. So you have your favorite and your underdog. So for tonight, the Bills are favored by 2.5 points. So you minus 2.5. So you can bet on the Bills minus 2.5, which means they need to win by at least 3 points in order for you to win. Or you can bet on the Rams plus 2.5. What you'll see underneath it, the odds, right, means that with the minus, right, it means I need to bet $110 to make $100 profit, to win $100. If it was plus, then I would bet $100 to make $110 profit. Okay, so when something is minus in front of it, it basically means that Vegas thinks it's more likely than not speaking. And the plus would be plus money odds means you can make more money off of it. It also means that the odds makers believe that's less likely to happen than the alternative. So you can see that right now. Money line basically just means straight up, head to head, who's going to win the game, right? There's no points involved in it whatsoever. So Vegas has Buffalo favored on the money line minus 135. So I would need to bet $135 to make a $100 profit on the Bills. But because Los Angeles is the underdog, that plus 115 is if I bet $100, I would make a profit if the Rams won the game. So what you get through in this is you can make more money by betting on the underdogs. You can make more money by betting when you see a plus in front of it. But obviously, they're statistically, according to Las Vegas, less likely to happen. Generally speaking, at AM New York, we look at a good line as we look at a good number to think about as minus 150. 150 says this is likely to happen, but it's not so likely that it's not really worth betting on. When you start to see things that are like minus 200, minus 300, it just means it's for that outcome to happen that you have to bet a lot of money just to make a small profit, that oftentimes that's just not worth the risk. You can feel free to do that, but it's generally not advised, because if you have to bet to make $100, you're really risking a lot for something that isn't going to return you a huge investment. And then the last thing you can bet on with football is the total points, which is basically just how many points will be over or under. Whenever you see a number like this that doesn't end in 0.5, so 52, if this game were to end with exactly 52 total points, that's known as a push, and you basically get your money back. You don't lose your money at all. And if you were to do, what they call a parlay, which is you were to combine two bets together, like if I said I was going to take the Bills money line and over 52 points, exactly 52 points, they basically just pretend that bet didn't exist, and you just have your money line bet. So you will never lose because you tied. It's something that you need to think about. And then there are some other bets on the next few slides.
We do. And Eric, again, this is the big game tonight, obviously the Thursday night game. You sign up today, you can bet this game tonight. But then we're not going to ignore the local teams. And Here we go. We'll go into the Jets and the Giants next. So here we go.
So this is the same exact lines, right? But same exact types of bets. But for the Jets game this weekend, perfect example of Las Vegas thinks it's so clear that the Ravens are going to win that you see that minus 350 line. So we would tell you, if you're going to bet money on that, it's not really worth doing that bet. There's just too much risk. If the more bets you put together, so the more bets you parlay together, 2 bets, 3, 4, you'll see the odds change, because obviously you have to hit all of them to win. So what we tend to recommend is, if you're have odds that are this high, bet them with 2 bets connected to it or 3 bets connected to it, because it'll make your odds better. Otherwise, you'd probably want to avoid that. And, so we look at, our model right now, like what we have, we have our NFL model that tells us a little bit about what we think for this week. The model suggests that would actually hit the over. So our model is projecting over 49 total points for this game, which would mean betting over 44.5. As a general rule for week 1, we recommend let's say cautiously, right? Because we don't really know how good these teams are yet. It's been a whole off season. So place some bets, but don't go crazy in week one yet until you have a better sense of these teams. Then the Giants. We see another one right now where the Giants are plus 210, right? So minus 260 for the Titans. So it's another thing where like you probably wouldn't want to bet that on its own. Unfortunately, this week, our model actually has the Titans favored by 10 points. So our model suggests that the Titans are a pretty good bet this week. So sorry for it will get better. They made some good coaching hires, but at least for week one, again, there's not a lot of optimism in the data.
All right.
So another very kind of popular, which you can do for all sports really, they're called prop bets. And a prop bet is basically a bet on an action to happen. So they're connected to specific athletes, usually players in the game, and they are not by the outcome. Okay. So an example, a bet you could make is the first touchdown score. Very simply, it's which player scores the first touchdown. That's it. That's the end of the bet. No way is it impacted by anything else in the game. Obviously here, you get higher odds. You get more beneficial odds for profit, because it's harder to choose who's going to be the scorer, right? So seeing plus 600 for Cooper Kupp is really interesting. $100 on Cooper Kupp to score the first touchdown, and he does. I make a $600 profit, which is obviously very enticing. It's important to understand that when odds are that high, it's enticing because it's really risky. But with the Bills missing their Pro Bowl cornerback, Tre'Davious White, you may think the Rams are going to pass a lot. Why not take the best receiver in the league last year to score the first touchdown? On it, you could win $60 if he scores the first touchdown tonight.
I like it, Eric. I like it. Let's go to the next one.
So again, you can also bet on team props. So not just player props, but team props. What play in tonight's game will contribute the first points, right? Will it be a Buffalo touchdown, a Rams touchdown, a Buffalo field goal, a Rams field goal? And then you get like a Buffalo safety, right? So you're going to plus, 4,500, a lot of money to win on a bet. Statistically speaking, highly, highly unlikely. With bets like this, we sometimes say like, you know what, if you want to throw $1 fun, and it's something that's, fun to root for when you see odds like that, losing $1, that falls out of our wallet all the time. $1 will not, ruin our day, but we really don't want to bet substantial amounts of money on things like odds. They can be fun, but it's highly, highly unlikely that anything happens.
I love that you can bet on all these different things. For some people not as familiar with all of the ins and outs, it's still just a fun way to get involved.
And there are bets, the other prop bets, you can bet on things, stats for the end of the game, right? So not just like scoring plays, but okay, will Josh Allen pass for over 1.5 touchdowns today? Prop bets like this is they will pretty much never end in a zero. It's always 1.5, 2.5, 277.5, because they don't want a push, right? So you can see that we talked about the Buffalo secondary issues. Matt Stafford to pass for over 1.5 is at minus 194. Vegas thinks it's highly likely. What I will say before other bets, like when you see odds like this, like if you wake up in the morning and you check this and it's Josh Allen over 1.5 minus 214, you may at 5 p.m. that night see it's Josh 2.5. The odds can change as the day goes on based on how much money is being bet on a particular thing. So there can be some benefit in waiting during the day to place your bet. Maybe you want to see more information. You want to know what the day is going to look like. But if you really think something is a good bet in the morning, and the rest of the country really thinks something is a good bet in the morning, and everybody starts betting it, those odds may change by the middle of the day, and then get that bet. So there is pluses and minuses to what time of day you place your bet. You just have to place a bet that you feel comfortable with and confident in. If you really like something in the morning, you don't necessarily have no quote unquote best time to place your bet.
Eric, I'm going to jump in here because we do have a question from John who wanted to know,
Sure.
So what happens in that case after the bet is placed? So if you place a bet and then the odds change.
Your bet, the odds are locked at the time that you've placed the bet. So the odds changing after you place a bet will in no way impact your bet.
Great.
Now, what you can do, if you wanted to, you could place on the new odds and it doesn't impact your first bet. So, for example, if I really thought the Giants were going to cover 5.5, and again, I want to point out that our data does not suggest that that's going to be the case, but if you really wanted to, on the Giants, they're plus 210. If more money keeps coming in on the Titans and the Giants go to like plus 6.5 points, plus 7 points, the odds get even higher. You could place a Giants getting more points and it won't impact your first bet at all. So there are ways that if you really like a bet, you can see what the odds do during the day, and you can place multiple bets on basically this to win more money on it. But again, that's putting a lot of your eggs in one basket. So you really just want to be cautious with things like that to make sure you're not putting too much money or more than you're comfortable on one particular outcome.
Thank you.
So part of the futures we already talked about when we talked about staff picks, right? So again, like you can come here when you see the futures, and this is Caesar's Sportsbook screenshot, right? So this is what you would see. You can bet on the Super Bowl winner, the conference winner, the division winner, right? So this is kind of what we talked about with the Bills, right? Plus 600 to win the Super Bowl. They're a betting favorite right now, but plus 600 odds for you as a bettor, because it's really hard before week 1 to predict who's going to win the Super Bowl. Now, if you think it's going to be the Bills, betting $100 on them gives you a $600 profit at the end of the season. That's pretty nice. The opportunity to bet, on these teams who, like the Rams just won the Super Bowl last year. They're not really all that much worse than they were last year. If you bet $100 on the Rams to win the Super Bowl, you could win a $1,000 profit. But again, as you go through these other things, you see like the Bills to win the division, the odds are not as favorable to us betting wise because they're so heavily favored that, we wouldn't see a huge profit. But some team like the Chiefs, because people are also really into the Chargers this year, you can see the Chiefs to win the division is still plus money, meaning I could bet $100 on the Chiefs to win the division and I would make $175 profit because they're not much of a sure thing, quote unquote, to Vegas as the Bills or say the Bucks are.
So Eric, let me ask you this. We had one of our people ask John, he has a bet that the Jets are going to win the Eastern Division at plus 2,200. A good bet. And please note, anything that we tell you is just is their opinion. This is not, we don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
So what is with those numbers to give a sense of that?
So personally, I would say no. Now, the odds are so high that you could have a huge profit off of that. But I think we want to bet on things that this may come off mean to Jets fans, but we want to bet on things that feel like they're within a strong realm of possibility. The Jets could have a huge improvement on their season, but going from where they were last year to winning the division 10 or 11 games is a massive jump. But what you could do, and Ed, I think you have it on the next slide.
You do.
There are bets. One more. Yeah, there are bets like this. Will the Jets make the playoffs? That's a more reasonable outcome. And actually, our writer, Nick Faria, one of his bold predictions for the year is that the Jets will make the playoffs. Now, plus 650 is not as enticing as, plus 2,200, but this feels more likely within the realm of possibility. If I bet, $10 on the Jets to make the playoffs, I could make $65 profit on it. Or if I bet $100, I make a $650 profit on it. Again, these odds are telling you that Las Vegas thinks it's highly unlikely, but it's more likely than them to win the division. So especially when we're betting on our own teams, and again, I try not, I cover the Bills because I'm covering them, right? We don't do that as beat writers, but also you want to be able to manage your fandom with your own money, right? And we want to make sure that our fans are so heavily invested in a team, but we don't want to make sure that we're still making good financial decisions as well. So betting on something like this as a middle ground might make a little bit more sense. You can also bet, and I see John in the question as well, like you could bet on things like win totals. So John asked about betting on the Jets over 5.5 wins for 1,675. Again, manageable bet, right? The only thing I would say with win totals, keep in mind that when you place that bet, you're locked into those odds, right? So you won't, if the Jets suck in week 3 or 4, you won't be able to like change that bet and say, oh, well, I didn't know this injury was going to happen when I bet on them to win over 6 games. That's why those bets are risky, right? If Zach Wilson were to wind up being, and if Breece Hall were to get injured or things like that, the Jets may have a harder time, to reach those odds.
I think it's very important to note, and Eric, you just kind of prefaced it before, you have to kind of make the differentiation of betting between, your head and your heart, because I think there are a lot of Jets fans out there who kind of look at the moves that the Jets made and say, okay, well, you know what, they might take a step forward. Absolutely. I think it's really important to do your research, though. It's going to be without Zach Wilson for the first 3 games of the season. They're going to have Joe Flacco under center. You have to look at the other teams within the division, and trying to look at things objectively on paper. We know the Bills, who are Super Bowl favorites, a lot of people, not just us. They're more of the national consensus. The Bills are a better team than the Jets. They're probably going to be they are the favorites to win the division. They probably will. And then you have to look at, the steps that the Miami Dolphins took, who they picked up this season. You have to look at who the New England Patriots are. And they're usually in the conversation of the playoffs. And that kind of leaves the Jets in a really difficult spot. So, yes, I think if you do take a big step forward, I think it's going from winning 3 or 4 games in the season to potentially winning 7 or 8. And while there is a playoff expansion and there are 3 wild card teams now that make the playoffs in each conference, it's still a lot of in the division there. So again, it's imperative that you do your research before seeing that high number, say that plus 2,200, and saying, well, if this does hit, I'll really get a payout. And I believe in the Jets. Take note of all those external factors that are ultimately going to come into play here, and it's going to make that number, as enticing as it looks, all the more difficult to eventually hit.
This is just another example of a future, right? We talked about team futures. You can do player futures like this, end of season awards, right? So an MVP award. And again, you're going to see the same type of large odds here because you're talking about a season-long award, which is for sure who's going to win.
And Eric, I don't have it on here, but I know you do like some selections for what I believe the defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah. So first round pick is a strong contender for defensive rookie of the year. That is a bet, another prop bet that you can make. The odd, because he got hurt in the preseason, the odds also got better in terms for us as bettors. If you have confidence to win, obviously the Jets first round pick, Sauce Gardner, also in contention. And we do cover these things pretty regularly on amnewyork.com. So we'll kind of give you the lowdown on like how. So like you can see right here, the top vote getters for MVP are all quarterbacks. And when we broke this down in our article, we mentioned that statistically speaking, the football MVP goes to a quarterback. So we've also broken that down for the other in terms of like, offensive player of the year tends to go to a quarterback or a wide receiver. So those are some things to keep in mind too when you're placing these bets, is like voting for a defensive player for MVP, for example. You might have really great odds, but at the same time, statistically, it is highly unlikely to happen. So you want to kind of know that past history when you're placing these season-long bets to make sure you understand a little bit of what voters tend to look for.
Great advice.
And then just, to note that like baseball season is also still ongoing, right? We have two playoff contenders, World Series contenders here in New York with the Mets. Unfortunately, these odds have gotten worse over the last few weeks for both teams. They've hit a little bit of a cold patch, but sometimes for betting that can work to our benefit. All right, if we believe in the team long. What you also start to see is that casual bettors, right? People who who are betting based on what's getting the most media coverage, will now tend to bet a lot more on football, which means that if you're paying attention to baseball, you can sometimes find good bets with baseball because there's more money being driven into football. So sometimes you get some good odds in baseball games. So also important to think about that as well.
Okay, so this obviously we're talking about sports that are in a little bit of a slower time of the season, like Eric just said. Sometimes you can find really good bets. When it comes to NHL sports betting, obviously, if you look at the grand spectrum of four major sports here in North America, hockey is last in terms of popularity. And while they're getting big deals with ESPN and Turner Sports, and the exposure is a little bit more, it's still the most of a niche market where you can really find some solid deals, and it's so more obvious here when you're just looking at the Stanley Cup winning futures. And obviously training camps are going to start in a week or two. They're starting to ramp up for the 2022-23 season. Pretty obvious that the Colorado Avalanche are the sturdy favorites to repeat, even though they did have a change in goaltending. They're actually going to ride with the former New York Rangers backup, Alexander Georgiev, as one of their go-to guys in Francouz. But we know the firepower that the Avalanche have. But if you look, everybody else, again, you're getting 10-1 odds or better on everybody else that you're betting on in the NHL. So again, okay, well, the Tampa Bay Lightning won the two previous Stanley Cups before that, and they were in the Eastern Conference Final. The Carolina Hurricanes improved their defense, which was a huge question mark. The Toronto Maple Leafs, their forward group of Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and John, they can score with anybody in the league. And then, of course, if you look at the very bottom, the Rangers, who made quite the run to the Eastern Conference Final and unexpected in that, they have top seven. And again, they are trying to find the right tweaks, and they made a few changes here and there, especially at second line center, bringing in Vincent Trocheck, waving goodbye to Ryan Strome. They have the defending Igor Shesterkin. So the foundation is there. And we'll see if the Rangers kind of made the right tweaks. But again, you bet $100, you're winning 150, in profit. So you're bringing home 250 in. So it's a pretty good bet. And again, for the locals who want to believe in a local team, that's certainly one to keep an eye on as we get a little closer to hockey season. And of course, these lines are going to change all throughout camp. We're going to get a few updates here and there on injuries and who might be feuding with the front office. There's always that sort of preseason drama to go through. So again, something to really keep an eye on. But again, it's not this overwhelming, enormous market. The line is going to be swayed so quickly. So if you find a bet that you like, it might be able to stick around for a little while longer, just, to make sure that you have your bearings, do your research, make sure that it's there, and then you can make an informed decision about it.
And as you can tell, Joe knows a lot about hockey. So again, go to amny.com, follow Joe Pantorno, and you will learn everything you need to know about the Islanders and the NHL. That's for sure. Great suggestions and tips on who to bet this year. Thank you, Joe. And then we also, let's not forget the NBA. You can also bet the NBA as well. Eric, I don't know if you want to, or Joe want to go through this.
Yeah, obviously, with Durant and Kyrie and all them, all of the off-season drama. The Nets are still favorites, unfortunately, or not favorites, but among the favorites. Obviously, unfortunately, we don't see the Knicks on here. The off-season has not gone planned. Enticing young future, but maybe not a team to bet on for right now. But obviously, you have the defending champions up here in the Warriors, the Celtics who made a run last year, the Bucks, with Giannis conversation. The Suns are an intriguing young team. They were the number 1 seed last year and had some injury issues, but with Booker and DeAndre Ayton, and that's an interesting team. And then James Harden back in Philly. Harden and Embiid, and that's an intriguing bet as well with that high odd total right there.
Great, thank you, Eric.
Also, before we get to this, there was a question, and I remember this with the Super Bowl off-topic issues that you could bet on. Someone was saying, is Tom breaking up with Giselle, or is Giselle breaking up with Tom?
Right, there you go. No, you know what?
So,
are there bets like that?
There are fun. You will pretty much never see anything like that on sports books, with the exception of like events like the Super Bowl. And you'll see some of them. So like the Gatorade color, right, is a big one that see on sports books for the Super Bowl. You're not going to see that often. And a lot of times those are for fun. How long will how long will the national anthem be gets onto sports books. The big the sports book, which are things that we want, right? We want to be putting our money into sports books that have proven they can handle our money. The less likely you are to see those types of props on there.
Right. And again, even a prop that now you could bet the Oscars, right? The Academy Awards, Best Picture, Best Actor. Those are things that you're now starting to see more and more on the top sports books that we've talked about today.
Quick question that we had also is just in terms of the reputable books. Are there certain of the top 5 that are easier to use, bonuses easier, anything like that? Or do you find that these top 5 tend to be reliable and greatest ease of use?
I could say that, again, all the top 5 that we have listed, the interfaces are fantastic. Joe and his team did a ton of research, not only, trying our own, testing them, looking at payouts, looking at interface, looking at odds, looking at, non-glitchiness of these apps. And the top 5 that we've talked about are clearly the top 5 apps out there. People have different preferences, though. Again, a lot of people that I know have more than one app, right? Because you like to compare odds, right? So I might like the Bills tonight minus 2.5 on DraftKings or Caesars, but PointsBet might have that game at 3 points. So if you have multiple sports books or apps, you then have the ability to search around and find the app that odds, not only the best interface, but the best odds, because each of the apps can have different odds. They all don't share odds.
I think that's a really good point that Ed's making, right? It's
Yeah.
just if you say like, oh, I have a DraftKings account or oh, I have a Caesars account, doesn't mean you shouldn't take advantage of these signups for other accounts because, again, like Ed broke down at the beginning, you're getting extra money into your account.
Right.
And that sportsbook may have the best odds. And even though it can sometimes seem like more work to compare the odds, it can make you money. And also all of the widgets and stuff we use in our articles will show the best odds. So sometimes that will be a DraftKings, be a BetMGM, etc. One thing to keep in mind, I think that as a sportsbook user, that is a major differentiator between DraftKings and some of the other ones. With Caesars, if you sign up for a New York resident, you have to be physically located in New York to place your bets. So on the app, on anything. So if I sign up for Caesars Sportsbook and then I go visit my family in Pennsylvania, even legally bet in Pennsylvania, the Sportsbook app will see that I am not located in New York and I am a New York registered bettor. I cannot place a bet. Now, if I'm using DraftKings, place bets using DraftKings as long as I am located in a state where sports betting is legal. So if I go into New Jersey, I can log into my DraftKings app and I can place a bet, regardless of registered, because I'm in a state that geographically allows sports betting. So that's another point to what Ed was saying about having multiple signups is I may like Caesars the best, but if I just know my schedule and my life, I'm visiting family on weekends, I travel a lot for work, whatever it is, and I may not always be geographically present in New York. Sometimes having an account like a DraftKings account can help so that I can place bets when I'm not in New York as well.
Eric, great
Yeah,
point.
I was going to say that's a great point because actually we had a question there from Ray who wanted to know what the various limitations in regard to the bonuses, but I think also in general, what are the various limitations? That's one of them. In the bonuses, are there limitations that people should be aware of?
Yes, and Elizabeth, let me just explain that quickly. So again, the bonus and offers are for new customers. Now, but the one clarification in terms of being a new customer, if I have an account, obviously I can't re-sign up for DraftKings, but I can sign up for Caesars as a new customer or BetMGM or PointsBet or Fanduel. Just because you have one account, you can't sign up for that existing, but you can sign up for the other accounts and be considered a new customer. So those offers are valid for new customers. That's the one caveat. If you have an existing account, you can't re-sign up. But again, customer for that new app. So again, if I already have DraftKings, but I don't have PointsBet yet, I can sign up for PointsBet and I can get that great 4-time $200 offer for PointsBet as a new customer.
Can these top 5 individual, another question from here, can people use this on their phone only or can they use their computer? Ray's saying he much prefers his computer.
Yes, you can. All of these apps can be used for your computer, on your mobile device, on your iPad or Amazon device. All of these top 5 apps have the ability to be used on your computer, iPad, or your mobile device. You can use any and all. I sign in on my phone, I sign in on my computer, and I also sign in on my iPad. It depending, on what I'm doing and what's more convenient. But again, you have the ability with all of these of those devices.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
That's a great
I know
question.
you wanted to talk to us about our special service, our concierge service. So why don't you go ahead and get started talking about that?
Yes, well, we have William Lee on our staff, who is our sports betting concierge. And as it looks like Billy is here and joining us. So let's quickly introduce Billy as our sports betting concierge and let him quickly talk about what he can offer everyone. Hi, Billy.
Hey guys, how are you?
Great.
So, yeah, I'm excited to be here. I have been running this with the whole team you just met here for about since right at the Super Bowl. And basically, I've done over 1,000 people. Super easy and seamless. Everybody has different computers, different phones. So if there's any questions you have, let me know. Any little bumps in the road, I can definitely help you.
Also, how do they work with you? Can you be specific what some and what you would work with them on?
Sure. So I know this slide here says we just got to change it for the next one. I'm available 7 days a week, as long, anytime between like 11 a.m. to 8. You can call me. You can shoot me a text after and just say, who you were. You don't have to even leave a voicemail. That way I'll have your number. You always can email me and book an appointment. I'm super flexible. And, anytime up until like 8 o'clock at night, I can help you out. And if I am doing something, personal, then I can definitely get back to you as soon as I can. So,
and let me add, Billy, just quickly, again, the registration process, sometimes it's very smooth. Other times there might be a blip here or there. Guys, your address, you might put in ST for street, and Caesars wants you to type in STREET. There are little glitches that happen. William Billy has seen all of them through all of his signups, and if you do minor issues, William can walk you through that process and get you past those glitches.
Great. I did share his contact information in the chat, so those people are able to. You all are able. Also, you'll get an email tomorrow with his information as well. So if you have any questions there, he can do that. Thanks so much for joining us, Billy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Billy. All right. We definitely need to mention this as well here. Again, if anyone, during this webinar, if you do have a gambling problem or need help with problem gambling, please scan this QR code. It will be part of the presentation and the other webinar. You can also call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Again, if you have a problem, you've heard the slogan, bet with your head, not over it. But if you do have a problem with gambling here in New York, there are great services set up for you. So please scan the QR code, call that number that we talked about, because again, it is something that, with legalized sports betting, we realize that there's also, people that have gambling. And if you do, please call that number and get the help you need. That service it's a great service.
Also, people asked about William. There is no charge. To reach out to him and for him to help. So take advantage.
And again, William also, some take 10 minutes. Others might take a little bit longer with verification. He will be there with you through the entire process. If it takes 10 minutes or 1 hour, William will be there to help you process. And I guess that's really it. We want to, again, thank everyone for attending. Please, you've got some great advice today from Eric. Let's have a great, fun football season. And let's also make some money.
Absolutely. You'll get an email tomorrow, so keep an eye out for it with all the links, but use our links, grab them, take advantage of all these incredible promos. These are the year at the beginning of the NFL season, but you also don't just have to use it for the NFL. So you see there's so many that you can bet on. Please sign up for the AM New York, amnyyork.com. You can get our newsletter and all this great sports information. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Ed, Eric, Joe. Thank you for all this valuable information. And we'll look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.